Let's rewind back to your time with Ben. So,
Okay.
first time meeting Ben Johnson in a quarterback room.
Right.
Do you have any memories of that? And
Oh,
what were they?
big time. So, first time I met Ben was in the quarterback room. Our first meeting actually. Ben, he wasn't shy about introducing himself and letting me know that, hey, if you need anything, let me know. I'm always gonna be someone that can help you. And for me being this freshman, coming in scholarship guy, like, hey, I'm gonna need your help. I got this. I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking to myself. We get out there on the field and me and Ben start warming up, and I mean. Ben doesn't throw the football on the laces, by the way. He doesn't use the laces when he throws, but man, he throws a nice tight ball and it was firm. Very tight, firm football, and he's very accurate and he's a pretty good athlete. So I was kind of shocked that he was, had this walk-on status. And then when we got into the plays and stuff like that, more into practice, Ben was very open to helping me. He was pulling me aside, telling me my mistakes, telling me, before the play, things I should be looking for. And, I've always thought like, man, I always thought he was an outstanding teammate. Ben was somebody I can, when I was feeling down and couldn't take, had a difficult time taking the college coaching, Ben he quick to say, hey man, he does that to everybody. You know what I mean? And like I said, I have a lot of respect for Ben, and one thing I can say, he's very smart. Very, very smart on and off the field. I've been following Ben, coaching career, from the time he started as a GA at Boston College. And I would say he's been under some outstanding coaches. If you look back to some of the coaches he spent some time with, even on the college ranks, he's been under Coach Gary Tranquil, who actually gave Nick Saban his first start at Michigan State in his defensive backfield. And Gary Tranquil has been a coordinator on both sides of the football on the FBS level. So that was the guy that kind of brought Ben under his fold. And Ben was actually and Coach Tranquil was actually our quarterback coach at UNC Chapel Hill. So like I said, I think the Bears fans can expect someone who's going to set expectations. He's going to set standards, and they're going to be very high. They're going to be very explosive on offense. They're going to be very creative. And Ben has a plan. He has a plan. Trust me, he has a plan. He wanted to be here in Chicago, and I guarantee, I'm telling you, he's going to deliver.
Coach, would
Have,
you
have
call him fiery? Was he fiery back then? Were you ever intimidated by him?
No, not at all. Not at all. But I would tell you this one thing I knew about Ben, Ben knows how to play his role. So when he was on the sideline, he was cheering everybody on. But when it was his time to get his reps and command the huddle, he went in there and commanded the huddle, and that was something you know, that as a young quarterback coming into UNC, it's kind of hard. That's a hard thing when you're walking into a huddle when everybody's 6 to 7 inches taller than you and outweigh you by 100 pounds, and you're telling them to dress it up, hey, quiet up. There's only one guy talking in the huddle. Ben was quick to come in there and kind of lay down the law and get the play call off and, make adjustments at the line of scrimmage without coach even, prompting it. And like I said, and those were the things where, talent wise, it made up for the talent that he did lack. And I remember going and calling my father and telling him my dad was talking, reading things on the quarterback battle, at UNC at the time, and he was intrigued by Ben Johnson, because he was a walk on and he was sitting at number 3. I was sitting at number 4, and I just told my dad, I said, Dad, I said, he knows the stuff. And I just told him, I said, I'm confident enough, like, if I had to go with a guy right now, if someone got hurt, it would be him, because he knows the checks, he knows the calls, he's confident in the huddle, and I'm just not there. And he never made me feel like, I was underneath him. He always continued to coach me up. He tried to literally coach me up to surpass him. And I'm being honest and I'm being genuine when I say that. He coached me up to try to surpass him. Like, he was, the things I need to work on. He didn't mind taking his free time for training camp and sitting down with me and going over signs, play signs and stuff like that. And uh, I remember when he really stepped up into that situation was we were playing Wisconsin, and This is my second college game of my career. I'm dressing out. Right now, I'm considered a third string quarterback on the depth chart, like on the actual official depth chart. But we all knew if it came down to it, they'll probably go ahead and throw Ben in there. Um, we didn't have headsets at the time. Me and Ben didn't have a headset. The backup at the time had the headset. And coming from high school, I thought, man, nobody gets hurt, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm never going to play. I'm never going to, see the field. So it was kind of like a little I thought it was going to be like a little vacation for me. I started quarterback. He got hit and went down for a few plays, and I mean, my heart dropped because everyone on the sideline was looking for me to grab the headset, and I was like, man, I thought about. It. I said, they're looking for me to call any plays and signal any plays out to this field on national TV in front of all these fans. They got the wrong guy. And I said, And I backed up and handed it to Ben. Ben grabbed the headsets, put them on, walked over there and started signaling plays. And that's where he
Wow.
stayed. That's where he stayed the rest of the season. He traveled every single game after that. He was signaling plays ever since, and he went with Coach Tranquil to Boston College when Coach Tranquil left. So I seen the start of Ben Johnson's career, and I'm telling you, guys are getting a darn good coach. And I studied Ben a lot as a head football coach. His offense, his red zone offense, because they were scoring in the red zone at a very high clip. And if you look at my numbers from the red zone for the past 2 seasons, we scored at an 89% touchdown clip. So we got a lot of those things, a lot of those plays from Ben Johnson. His detail and his understanding of tendencies and understanding of what not just what the defense are doing, but what the individual tendencies are of a defensive player, and to being able to take advantage of that. I don't think there's any play call in the NFL that's doing that at that high level right now. And like I said, I studied a lot of guys.
I love a lot of that for the record here. One, knowing your own strengths, like, hey, that guy's better. You're good for the team. That's impressive by a young man because, you get that opportunity. You don't want to pass it off. So good on you, coach. And then just hearing the Ben stuff's super awesome. And by the way, you guys, you were 15-15-1 at your last school, Florida Memorial, 6-3 last year, 425 yards a game, 38 points a game. So apparently we're giving like 3% of credit to Ben Johnson for those numbers, which is, hey, tip of the cap, I suppose. I mean, maybe I'm giving him, maybe it's 2.5%, coach, but somewhere in there you still have something, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I said, especially his stuff down in the red zone. His stuff was really good. Really, really good. And the stuff he did in Detroit down in the red zone was really extremely good. And we used some of that stuff. And like I said, Ben likes to stay ahead of the curve. He likes to invent the curve. From what I've seen, I know he's not going to say that, but from what I've seen, he likes to invent the curve. And for me, I'm watching. I'm watching very closely, and I'm glad he was my teammate. Like I said, and I got to watch his progression. I got to watch Ben grow. From that GA position at Boston College. I mean, I started as a backup quarterback, from a backup quarterback at UNC, understanding his role and you understand I've been coaching college football for a while now, and one of the hardest things is getting young men to understand what their role is and how valuable their role is to our team's success. And Ben, he knew that. He knew that coming in, and he showed that, every day in how he prepared and every day in how he interacted with his teammates. So I know like I said, I know personally what Chicago is getting, and I guess I have a lot of respect for Ben, and I think he's going to do very well.
I got to tell you, just sitting here listening to you, I mean, this is incredible insight. And I know for all the Bears fans watching this, I mean, I would argue this is probably the most fascinating interview I've heard on Ben Johnson yet. And we're excited for your personal career here at Chicago State and everything you're going to bring here. But, here this being a Bears show and giving these kind of the backstory, right? And
Right.
the start of someone's journey. And that's what you're going to be called upon to do to help people start their journeys at Chicago State. It's really fascinating to hear this because you really find the cut of a person, at where they started. And so I appreciate all these insights. Have you had a chance to reach out to him since he's became the head coach? How much do you stay in touch with him?
Well, we both know this. We both know how this career is. You know what I mean? We both stay extremely busy. I know Ben. I knew once he took over the opportunity with Chicago, he was going to be extremely busy. You know what I mean? I reach out to Ben. Me and Ben has been Facebook friends since 2005. You know what I mean? Where we've been, and you go back to some of our messages. It's kind of funny, you know. We're talking. I mean, it's about, oh, I got class. Can you meet at this time? You know, little stuff like that. And you know, I reached out to Ben. I reached out before he got the job, when I congratulated him last season on all the success that he's garnered. You know, before he even stepped into the role as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And you know, I was just very, very proud of him. And like I said, he doesn't know, like, you know, I said, he motivates me. You know, he motivates me, and and like I said, I can only imagine the stuff he has on his plate. You know, so you know, to reach back to get back to little old me, like I said, I'm not pressed about it. But you know, at the same time, you know, Ben's always been a very solid guy. He's reached out. He reaches out to his teammates. You know, he talks to us. You know, I've spoken to him through people as well. You know what I mean? But I know Ben has been very locked in, especially through the last 4 seasons. I know he's been extremely locked in.